If you want to write modular programs in Python, we learn about object-oriented programming. And in this whole module, we will be discussing about object-oriented programming, also known as OOP. So guys, object-oriented programming involves classes and objects. It also uses real-life entities like encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, etc. So we will be learning about all these concepts in this whole module. Before we get started, if you want to become a successful data analyst and if you want to learn data analytics live from our expert, then you can call on the number provided on your screen or you can fill the form provided in the description. Not just that, with our every batch you get 2 demo classes for free. So now let's get started. In our today's session, we will be starting with a completely new topic, that is introduction to classes and objects. Now, first of all, what are these classes and objects? So, Python is a language that supports OOP programming. Now, what is OOP programming? That is object-oriented programming language. Python is an object-oriented programming language. Object-oriented programming language over here means that here objects and classes are created. So here programming can be done in a systematic way with the help of OOPs. That means we can create classes and objects over here. Now talking about what are these classes and objects, let's understand what are classes and objects. So guys, classes can be defined as the blueprint for creating objects. Now what does this blueprint mean? That let's take an example over here, guys. Let's say when I say the word chair to you, so what comes into your mind? So maybe, something that we can sit on, something that has 4 legs, something that has 2 armrests, something that has a backrest as well. So that kind of a structure comes to your mind, and to everyone's mind that kind of structure only would come, because what it is a blueprint that the basic chair should look like this. So the idea of a basic chair should look like this. That is a blueprint over here. Now talking about objects, how we will define the object is that any class without objects is completely incomplete. So what is completely incomplete over here? That even though if we have created a class, suppose we have a chair in our mind, but we have not executed it anywhere, if we have not created a chair, if we have not made anything out of it, like it's just a blueprint, right? It's a blueprint on a paper. Let's understand in this way, that it's a blueprint on a paper, but we have not created the real structure. Then it is completely incomplete, right? So object is what over here? Object is an instance of a class over here. So we will be learning how to create these classes and objects in Python. So let's get started. So to create a class, there is a very simple method that we have to write class. Now what class we want to create? Let's say I want to create a class employee over here. So I'll be writing employee and put a colon. So this is my employee class over here. This is how a class has been created. Now inside this class, I'll be writing some data over here, that maybe I'll be creating a function, that definition employee details, and I'll be passing one self parameter over here. Now what is this self parameter? Self parameter is a parameter that needs to be passed over here. Now this term self itself is not required to be used. It's an object that is calling itself. Like self is a kind of object that is calling itself. For this we don't have to pass any value also. And the word self also is not required over here. It is automatically coming over here, just like how when we write our first program in any language, it is hello world. Simply here also self is just a word over here. If you write ABC, XYZ or any other word also, you even write your name also, that would also work over here. So self is nothing but it's just an object that calls itself, which is mandatory to be used over here. Now inside it I want to pass details, that the employee code of the first employee is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this is the data that I want to pass inside it, right? Now this is a class has been created which has a function employee details, and here inside it some data has been written. Now what to do over here? Now suppose if I run it, nothing will happen over here. If I run just this much, now what will happen over here? If I run it, nothing will happen over here. Nothing, because a class without an object, as I said, it is completely incomplete. So if I run this much data over here, nothing will happen. Now what we need to do? We need to create an object. For creating an object, what we need to do? Suppose if I create a variable emp is equals to employee, open close the bracket. So an object has been created. Even though if I run it now, nothing would happen. Every time I run it, nothing will happen. We have to get it printed over here. So for getting it printed over here, what we will be doing? We will be writing emp dot employee details, open close the parentheses. Now if I run it, I'll get my data over here that the employee code of the first employee is 12345. This is how we print the data. We write the name of the object along with the function which carries the data that we want over here. Similarly, you can create many objects over here. Suppose if I create employee 1 is equals to employee, open close the parentheses, and I do the same over here, that emp1 dot employee details, and run it. I'll get the same data twice over here. Now why I'm getting it twice? Because in one class you can create thousands and hundreds and millions and billions of objects in one class. So there are no limits of objects, but class remains one over here. So from one class you can create endless number of objects over here. That is a plus point over here, that we can create as many objects that we want. Not just function over here, guys. If you pass a variable also over here, that would also work. So it does not only works with the function, but it works with the variables and other things as well. So you can use any data inside it. What is the plus point of using OOP programming? That means object oriented programming. That means these classes and objects is that it makes your program more systematic, it makes it more graceful, it makes it more elegant looking wise. Plus when you go for the debugging part, it makes it easier. You know that in which part of the code there is a mistake, and you can quickly go to that part and make the changes over there. So that is a plus point of using object oriented programming. There isn't like without object oriented programming you cannot write the code, but if you will use the object oriented programming in Python to write the code, then yes, it will make your program look much more better. It will simplify it, just not just for you, for the others also. And it also, object oriented programming also follows the concepts of inheritance. That means our real life entities, that is inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulation. So we will be learning all those in our upcoming sessions. Today we will be talking about methods and constructor. First of all, let's understand what are methods. Guys, what are methods over here is, methods are nothing but they are the functions only, but that we use inside the objects. So method is the other name of the functions, but because we use it inside the objects, that's why we call it methods. Right? Let's understand how a method can be created. So guys, I'll take an example over here. I'm creating a class employee. Along with the function, I'm creating a variable also over here that is named as employee ID. So I'll be writing employee ID. Okay, and I'm giving it a value as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's just a random value that there is an employee whose employee ID is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. After this, I'll be creating a function over here. Definition employee data, and I'll be passing the self parameter over here. After passing the self parameter, what I'll do, I'll try to print this employee ID over here. Okay, you can already see it's giving me an error, but still we'll try to print it. Okay, I'll be creating an object over here. For that, I'll be writing emp1 is equals to employee, open close the bracket. This will create my object, and if I will try to call this function, so to call this function, I'll need to write employee1 dot the name of our function, that is employee data, open close the brackets. If I run this program, you can see it says that name employee ID is not defined. So what I'll do over here, if I write self dot employee ID over here and now try to run it, you will see now it will get printed. So what is happening over here, that inside a function, when we are creating a method, it never takes the variable simply like that. It first takes the permission from the object, the first object that we have over here inside it, that is the self. Self itself is an object. It takes the permission from the self and then only it prints it. If we will not use self.employee ID over here directly, if we print the employee ID, this thing will not work. It will throw us an error. So what we need to do to get this employee ID or any kind of variable get printed inside our function, all we need to do is take permission from the self. To take the permission from the self, all we need to do is write self.employee ID. Now, as much number of variables you create, all you need to do is in front of them, you need to put a prefix self dot and whatever the variable name is. Right? This is called as method over here. So this is how methods are created. Now even if you are not creating any variable over here, let's say I'm not creating this variable over here, but I'm passing more parameters over here. So what I can do, if I want to pass, let's say name comma age. Okay, if I am passing name and age over here inside it, if I write print name and age, And here with the employee data, while calling it, if I provided with these details that name is John and let's say age is 23. If I run it, this thing will work. So when we are providing a parameter right after the self, it will work. But at the same time, if we are using a variable, if we have a variable outside, then for that we need to ask the permission from the self, and then we can use it and we can get it printed. But at the same time, if we are using a parameters right after the name of the self, then we don't need to take the permission from the self. We can provide with the parameters itself. Suppose over here after self, you only have two parameters, that is name and age. Then you have to pass only two arguments to it, that is John and 23. So the number of parameters will increase, the number of arguments will increase over here. But the self, for the self, you don't need to provide any value. If I try to provide any value for the self, let's say if I try to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 also, and I put it and run it, it will tell me that 3 positional arguments but 4 are given. So we only have 3 positional arguments but 4 are given. For self, we don't need to give any argument over here, and it can directly and we can only write the 2 values, that is for the name and the age. And suppose if you want to create more of the objects, so you can create emp2, that is our employee 2. For employee 2, I'm declaring it object over here, and employee 2, I'll be calling employee 2 by writing emp2 dot employee data, and we can pass the values right after it. So I'll be adding Lisa, who is 25. So if I run it, I'll get the output like this. But at the same time, if I was using a variable over here with any data, suppose I would have written gender is equals to female, and if I try to print it over here, print gender and run it, it will say that gender is not defined. But at the same time, if I write self dot gender, in that case it will give me female over here in both the cases, but where John is male, so we'll be considering that later, but I was just taking an example over here. So yeah, this is how it works. So in the methods, remember that the variable names cannot get printed directly. All you need to do is you need to take a permission from the self. So how to take a permission? All you need to do is write self dot and whatever is the name of your variable, and then it will get printed. At the same time, if you are not taking a variable, but you are taking a parameter, for parameter you don't need to take a permission from the self. This is how a method is created. Now next we'll be talking about the constructors in OOPS. So guys, constructor over here, inside the OOP we have initialize method init, that is called as init in short form, which is followed by 2 underscores on both the sides. So double underscore init double underscore is the initialize method that is used to initialize the class. Init means initialize over here. Now it says that the access is required to initialize the attributes of the class. Now what is attribute? Attributes are nothing but they are the different term for parameters and arguments. So don't get confused with the terms over here. Attributes are similar to parameters and arguments. If you want to access parameters and arguments of a class, we use initialize method. Now with the initialize method, there is one thing that we don't need to call it by its name. We don't need to call the initialize method. As soon as we call the class, we call the object over there, it calls itself. We don't need to call it specifically by providing a name to it. So initialize method, it calls itself. That is a good point about initialize method. Let's understand how a initialize method works over here in OOP programming. So guys, to understand constructor, what I'll be doing, I'll be using the similar example over here. As I said, initialize init is the constructor over here. All I need to do is write def. I'll write init over here, and yes, the self parameter. Okay, self parameter will also be used with our initialize method because self parameter itself is an object. Now with the initialize, we know that for initialize we don't need to call it. Initialize itself is a constructor, it calls itself. So inside it, whatever I will write, suppose if I write hello, here are the employee details, and if I try to run it, you will notice that here are the employee details will automatically get printed, even though I'm not calling for it. I'm not calling for the, here I had to call for the function employee data and pass the arguments, pass the values to it. But at the same time, for initialize, I don't need to call this function. I can just directly write initialize with a self parameter, and inside it, whatever task I'll assign to it, it will automatically get printed. So this is our constructor initialize, that is init. that is inheritance in Python. Now this word inheritance, you might have heard this word before, that what is inheritance. You might have heard in terms of biology that what inheritance is, or maybe when people say they have inherited behaviors from their parents, so maybe that time you might have heard this word inheritance. Before that, if you want to become a successful data analyst and if you want to learn from our experts live, then you can call on the given number or you can fill the form that is provided in our description. Not just that, with our every batch, you will be getting 2 demo classes for free. So here also in Python, the inheritance means is very much similar to what we actually mean in real life. Inheritance is a method in Python that allows the user to define a class that would be our child class, which inherits behavior from a parent class. So basically, you might notice over here that there is an involvement of 2 classes or more than 2 classes over here. We are talking about child and parent. Child class is the one which inherits behavior from the other class, and that other class is called as the parent class. So let's understand it in this way, like there is a child and there is a parent, and parent is tall. Okay, so child inherits the same behavior, like he has like similar hormones, so he's eventually also tall. But at the same time, there is some behavior of a kid. Let's say he talks a lot, but the parent cannot inherit that behavior from the kid, right? Only kids can inherit behavior from the parents cannot inherit behaviors from the kids. So same thing over here happens in Python, that there are 2 classes. Like for example, if we take, there are 2 classes, the class A, that the parent class is there, and class B is the child class over here. So B can inherit all the properties, all the behaviors from class A, but the class A cannot inherit any behaviors of B. Now how it will be used, suppose if you have 2 classes, we have 2 classes, one has some properties, the other class also has some properties, right? If you want to call an object, you don't need to call it from both A and B. All you can do is you can tell B class that B class will inherit properties from A, and then you can create an object with the class B which will inherit all the properties from A. So you can use all the behaviors and properties from class A and B using one object, or you can create multiple objects as well which can inherit different properties from both the classes. So this is how inheritance work over here in Python. Let's have a look with the help of an example as well. I'll be creating a class over here. So class, and the class that I'm creating is for a company, so that's for a company A. Okay, and I'll put a colon over here. Inside it, I'm gonna create a function. So definition employee 1 self parameter automatically comes over here, and inside it I'm writing print employee 1 name is John. I'm adding, let's say, another function to it. Let's say definition employee 2, and self already over here, and print employee 2's name is Lisa. Okay, this is my class A, and now I'm creating another class over here. That is my class company B. So class company B. Okay, I'll be writing definition. That means I'll be creating a function over here with employee 3 and 4. So employee 3 self print employee 3's name is Peter, and another function over here for employee 4. Employee 4's name is David, right? So I have taken 4 names over here and 4 functions over here. One is for employee 1, employee 2, and the company B has for employee 3 and employee 4. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create an object over here. Let's say I'm creating an object called as A1. A1 is equals to let's say it belongs to company B. Company B. Okay, now what I'll do, if I'll write A1 dot, so you can see it's giving me 2 options available over here, that is employee 3 and employee 4. Employee 3 and employee 4 are the methods that I can use. But what if I want to use with the company B only? I want to use the methods of company A as well, that is employee 1 and employee 2. I want to use the methods of company A, but I have created an object with B. So what I'll do over here, I'll convert this company B class into a child class. How to convert it? All I need to do is create a bracket over here, the curved bracket or our parentheses. Inside I'll write company A. So once I have written company A, if I write over here A1 dot, Now you can see I have all the 4 methods over here: employee 1, employee 2, employee 3 and employee 4, which is showing me that company B is a child class which has inherited all the properties from our company A, that is our parent class. So I'll be adding this text over here that it is a child class. How I have made it a child class? There is a simple method. Just right after the name of the class, all I need to do is write the name of the class from which it wants to inherit the properties. So B wants to inherit the properties from our class A. That's why I have written the company A name over here right after the B. And now in this way, I can use any of the method from class A and class B. Now this kind of inheritance is called as single inheritance, where there is an involvement of a single parent and single child. So if I want to write over here employee 1, and if I try to run it as well, it gives me employee 1's name is John, even though A1 belongs to class B, but because it's a child class which has inherited all the properties from our parent class, still it's giving me the employee 1's details over here. Why? Because it has inherited all the properties from our class A, that is company A. Inheritance is further divided into 3 categories. The one which we have seen over here right now is a single inheritance. We'll be talking about the other 2 types of inheritance as well. That is called as multi-level inheritance and multiple inheritance. Single inheritance, we have just seen that it involves single parent and single child. Let's talk about multi-level inheritance. Multi-level inheritance involves grandparents as well. For example, let's say there is a child, there is a father, and then there is a grandparent. So child will inherit all the properties from the parent, but child can also inherit from properties of grandfather. There are some grandkids who look alike their grandparents, right? Or they inherit some behavior from their grandparents. So this can also happen here in Python, that a class can inherit properties from a parent and also from the grandparent. So that is called as multi-level inheritance over here. So we'll be discussing that and we'll see the example of that as well now. I'll be considering the same example over here. All I need to do is create another class over here. So I'm creating class company C. So this company C will inherit all the properties from company B, and because company B has already inherit methods of company A, so that's why this company C will have all the methods of B and as well as of A. Let's see how it can be done. So for that, I'll be creating another function definition employee 5. I'm adding a self parameter over here. I'll be printing employee 5's name is Zia. Okay, now what I want this company C to inherit all the methods, all the properties of company B. So what I'll be doing, I'll be writing over here company B. Okay, so now this class is our child class. So I'll be adding over here child class. This class will become the parent class, and lastly this class will become our grandparent class. This is called multi-level over here. So now let's create an object for our class C. So I'll be creating A1 is equals to company C, and open close the parentheses. To call it, I will be writing A1 dot, and now you can see even though company C only has employee 5's data, but because it is inheriting all the properties from B, which is inheriting all the properties from A, so now we have all the 5 methods over here. Whichever we want to go with, we can go with. So if I want to go with the 4th one as well, so I can go with the 4th one, and as soon as I run it, I get the data of the employee 4, that is the employee 4's name is David. So this is how multi-level inheritance work. Next we'll be talking about multiple inheritance. Multiple inheritance is very simple. There are involvement of 2 parents here in this case, that there is mom, there is dad, and the child inherits properties from both mom and dad. So we'll be considering company A as a mother class and company B as a father class. So I'll be calling this as parent 1 class, and this one will be our parent 2 class. Okay, I'll be removing this from here. So now we have 2 separate different classes, company A and company B. And what this company C will do, company C will inherit all the properties from company A and company B. So company B is already written over here. I'll also add company A and company B. So company C now inherits all the properties from company A and company B. If you want to see an example over here, if I write A1 dot, You can see again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All the 5 methods are over here. We can use any one of these methods. Whichever method we want to go ahead with, we can go ahead with. So if I go with number 3 also and try to run it, it works over here that employee 3's name is Peter. So this is what multiple inheritance is. Multiple, don't get confused between multiple and the multi-level inheritance. Multi-level inheritance is when a class inherits a properties from another class which has inherited a properties from another class. So there are different levels of it. While at the same time, multiple inheritance means that a class has inherited properties from 2 different classes. There can be multiple classes as well, but yeah, we'll be here because we have considered a case of 2 classes. So it has inherited behaviors from the 2 classes over here. That is our multiple inheritance. Session we will be starting with a completely new topic in OOP, that is encapsulation. So first of all, let's understand what is encapsulation. So guys, encapsulation means to bundle data and methods within a single unit. Encapsulation allows us to declare if we want to keep a certain thing private or public. So guys, there can be times where we would want to declare some data as private, like we don't want to give access of that data to any user or to any person except for us. So at that time, encapsulation will be used. For example, let's say you have a company, okay, and you don't want to reveal the salary of your employees to the other employees or to the other persons as well. So what you can do, you can keep that data encapsulated inside your code. That means you can keep it private and no one else will have access to it. So that is called encapsulation over here, where we can declare a data private or public according to our choice. Now, encapsulation in Python can be achieved with a very simple method. If you put 2 underscores in front of a variable or a function that you're using inside the OOPs, then you can achieve encapsulation. So let's have a practical look on how it can be done. So guys, here I'm creating a class company, and inside it I'm creating a variable name, or we can create employee name. So employee name is equals to, let's say my first employee name is John. After this, what I will do, I will create an object over here that E1 is equals to company. And lastly, E1, we will call this by writing E1.name, E1.employee name. But because it's a variable, we have to get it print over here. So we'll print it as well. Now, if I run it, I'll get the output John over here. So this is my public data. What if I want to declare it as private? So to declare it private, what we will be doing, I'll be putting 2 underscores in front of it. And here also I'll be putting 2 underscores. Now if I try to run it, you will see I'll get an error over here that the company object has no attribute employee name. That means this data is private and no person can access it. So to access it also, we have a method. First of all, understand that by putting 2 underscores right in front of the variable name over here, while calling it also, we will be using this. So if we put 2 underscore over here, it will keep the data private and no one will have access on it. Now if you want to use this data, what can be done over here, you can use it inside a constructor. That if I write definition in it, and now all I need to do after writing self is print. What we need to print self dot employee name over here. And if I run it over here, as we know that we don't need to call the constructor over here, plus I have removed the employee name from here. So if I run it over here, I'll get the output John over here. How I'm getting it? Because inside the program we can use it, and inside the constructor we can use it, but here over here outside the constructor it cannot be used because we have declared it as private. So guys, this is what encapsulation of a variable is. So guys, suppose if I create a function over here, so let's say I'll be writing definition and employee data, and here I'm creating self parameter. Inside I'm writing print the salary of John is 50,000. Okay. But if I want to keep it private, so right now if I call it over here by writing E1 dot employee data and run it, so here I will get that the salary of John is 50,000. But if I want to keep it private, again I'll provide with 2 underscores over here, and while calling it also I'll be putting 2 underscores. So as soon as I run it, it will throw me an error that company object has no attribute employee data. So here to obtain this data also, what we can do, we can pass it over here inside our constructor, that print self dot employee data, and now if I run it, I'll get that John, the salary of John is 50,000 over here. So this is how it can be done, that inside the constructor we can use our private elements, but outside it cannot be done. Outside we cannot call them, we cannot use them with our objects, we can only use it inside our constructor. So this is how encapsulation is done, that is how we can keep our data private. Talking about advantages of using encapsulation, advantages of encapsulation in OOP is that it allows us to hide the data. It provides us with the simplicity, security. Suppose there's a company which wants to secure its data from the users, then yes, encapsulation provides them with the security, and it maintains the aesthetics as well. Today we will be learning about the getter and the setter method. So guys, the terms getter and the setter sounds a little weird to you, but that terms we will not be using in Python. The getter and the setter method, people generally call it the getter and the setter method, but the terms that is basically used inside the Python is the get method and set method. The setter is the set method and getter is the get method. We will be discussing about them. First of all, let's understand what are these getters and setters. So getters and setters are used with the encapsulation when you want to access any private data or any private variable or any private method. In that case, getters and setters are used. If you want to access a data, then you use a get option, get method, and if you want to set or if you want to modify a data, in that case you will use a set method. So set method is used to set or modify a value, and get method is used to fetch that value. So we will be using the getter and the setter method over here in Python. Let's see with the help of an example. Before that, if you want to become a successful data analyst and if you want to learn from our experts live, then you can call on the given number or you can fill the form that is provided in our description. Not just that, with our every batch you will be getting 2 demo classes for free. So to understand getter and the setter method, what I'll be doing, I'll be creating a class over here, a class of a company. Inside it, I will be creating some functions, some methods. So I'll be writing definition. Our first method would be for employee, and I'll be passing the self parameter over here. So because I will be setting the value for this employee, so what I'll call it as set employee, and here I will also pass another parameter for it that I want to set its name over here. So I'll be writing name over here. Okay. So next thing that what I'm going to do is I'll be creating a variable over here that is self dot. It's a private variable, that's why I'll be creating it with the 2 underscores. Self dot name is equals to name, the value, whatever the value that we will be passing to this name will be set to this private variable self dot name. Similarly, I will get this name as well. So for that I'll be creating another method over here that get employee. Inside I don't need to pass the another variable because I just want to fetch the values. There I want to set the value for the name, that's why I needed another variable, but here I just want to fetch the values. So to fetch the values we will be using a return statement. What it will be returning? It will be returning us with self dot name. Right. Let's say similarly I'm creating another case where I will be setting the employee ID. So what I will be doing, I'll create another method over here, set emp ID. And here I'll be using my self parameter plus I will be using ID. So ID would be my another parameter over here. Okay. And I'll be creating a private variable that is self dot ID is equals to this ID parameter that we have provided. Similarly, we will be using the get method also over here. So definition get, this should be set over here, and get emp id, and here just self parameter is required. So I'll be just using self and we will be returning the value. So return self dot underscore underscore our id, right? So what I have done, I have basically created one employee class. Inside I have created 4 methods, 2 methods to set the values for the name and the id, and 2 methods to fetch these values. That means the get method. Next, I'll be creating another method over here that will pass me with these values over here. So what I'll be writing definition and details. Because I'm taking the details of the employee, and here all I need is a self parameter with me. Inside it, I will print the name and name would be my self.name, that is our private variable. I'll put a comma in between. Similarly, I'll print for the employee ID as well. So ID, or we can write EMPID, that would be our self dot private ID, right? After this, I'll be creating an object over here. So let's create an object. Employee1 is equals to company. So I'm declaring over here that there is an object employee1 which belongs to the classes of company. After this, I will be calling our methods over here by also assigning the values to them. So what I will be doing, I'll be writing employee1 dot set employee name. So we will be setting the employee name to, let's say, John. Similarly, emp1 dot set employee ID. So I'm gonna set this employee ID to, let's say, 1 2 3 4 5, right? After this, after I have set it the values of name and ID over here, all I need to do is call this details method over here, because for now if we run it, nothing will appear to us. What we need to do, because the print statement lies inside this method, details method, we need to call it. So we will be writing employee1 dot details, and as soon as I run it, you will see it gives me name John and employee ID 1 2 3 4 5. Even though those were private variables, but because of our getter and the setter method, we have set the values to it, and then we have patched the values as well by using the setter and the getter method. Also, you can use our getter method over here inside the details as well, where you can just write self dot get employee in the first one, and similarly self dot get employee ID over here in this one. So if I run it, I will still get the same output that I was getting before. So this is how, guys, our setter and the getter method works over here in encapsulation. Session we will be starting with a new topic, that is polymorphism in Python. So let's quickly get started with what is polymorphism in Python. Guys, polymorphism allows us to execute the same action in a different ways over here. So for example, if I want to explain polymorphism, suppose we do the same thing but in a different ways, that is called as polymorphism. If I take example in the terms of Python, let's say when you want to find the length of a string. So when you want to find the length of a string, you use len and the name of the string. Similarly, if you want to find the length of a list, all you do is write len and the name of the list is provided over there. So the method over there remains the same, but because we are finding it for the two different data types, it becomes different. So that is polymorphism, that we are executing the same action. The same action is executed for both of them, but in a different ways. Like that, different ways over here means that we are using different data types over here. The major use of polymorphism is with the inheritance. We will be discussing that. So polymorphism has two things over here, that is overriding and overloading. So we'll be discussing that as well. First of all, let's take a small example of polymorphism. So let's say I'm creating a string over here. A is equals to hello. Okay. And I will print the length of the string. For that, all I need to do is write len of A. Nextly, and if I run it, I get the output over here 5, that there are 5 characters over here. At the same time, if I take a list over here, L is equals to, inside the list, I'll be passing, let's say, a few elements, 1, 6, 7, 5, 9. And if I close it and print len of L. So length of L. This one is for the length of the list. This one is for the length of the string. If I run it, I get the output 5. Let's add one more to it. Let's say I'm adding 10 as well. So I get the output 6 over here. So what is this telling us over here? That the method over here remains the same. The method that we are using for both of them remains the same, but because they are a different data types over here. Here A is a string and L is a list. This method, this technique is called as polymorphism. Polymorphism allows us to execute same method, same action, same techniques on different types. Okay. Now, talking about polymorphism in OOP. Let's take an example of how polymorphism work inside the OOPs with the help of the overloading. So to take an example over here, I am creating a class, company. Okay, and inside it I'm creating a function, that definition, and I'll be giving it its name to employee1, and I'll be giving its name to employee. Inside I will be passing the self parameter, and I also want to create a parameter that is the name. I will be writing over here name is equals to, let's leave it empty as of now. Okay. Inside it I'll be writing print the name of the first employee is comma name. Okay. This is what I have done. Here I have set this name variable to empty variable. Right now there is nothing inside it. I have just opened the strings, closed it, and there is nothing inside it. Now let's create an object over here. So I'll be creating an object as employee1 is equals to company. Now if I want to pass the value to this function, like there are two things. Once I can directly call this function by writing emp1 dot employee. I'll open close the bracket. Let's run and see what do we get. Let's see what do we get. So here it says the name of the first employee is, and it's leaving it empty. Now what I'll do, I'll create I'll write employee1 again, and I'll be writing employee, but this time I'll be passing a value to this name variable over here. So let's say I'll be writing John, and if I run it, I get the output, the name of the first employee is John. So now what you will see over here, that I can call it in both the ways. But one time to the parameter I'm providing an argument, that means I'm providing a value. One time to the parameter I'm not providing any value. So it works in both the ways. If you want to provide a value, you can provide it with a value, and if you don't want to provide it with a value, you can leave it empty as well, just like the way it is. So this is called as overloading method over here. Overloading method over here allows us to decide whether we want to give a value to the parameter or not. So this is the overloading method. Next we will be talking about the overriding method. The overriding method includes inheritance, as I said in the starting that inheritance is involved in polymorphism. Now what is overriding method, that we will be discussing. So as inheritance is involved over here, I'll be considering the cases of two classes. I'll be creating a class company A. Inside it, I am giving one function, that definition employee1 with a self parameter. This time I'm not using the name parameter, and I'll just print directly something, that the name of the first employee is John. Okay. Now similarly, I'm creating another class over here. That would be my class company B. Company B. Put a colon, and inside it I am creating a same function. So pay attention over here that I am not using a different function name. I'm using a same function name over here inside the B also. So same function name in A and same function name in B. So I'll be writing definition employee1 self parameter. Inside it I'll be writing print name of the first employee is Lisa. Now as we were talking about inheritance, what I'll do, I'll consider this class B as a child class and consider this class company A as a parent class. So to convert it into a child class, all we need to do is over here I'll be writing company A. So now B is a child class which inherits all the properties from A. Okay. Now what if I try to print employee1 over here? What if I try to call employee1 method with the help of the object? So let's give it a try. I'll be writing E1 as an object. Inside it I'm passing my class name, so company B. I'll be talking about the child class over here, that's why I'll be writing company B. If I try to call this function, if I try to call function employee1 over here by writing E1 dot emp1 and run this program, what do you think it will print? Well, if you have thought that it will print the name of the first employee Lisa, then yes, you are right. What it is basically doing, it is overriding it. See what is happening over here is that employee1 is there in company A and employee1 is also there in company B, because A is a parent class and B is a child class over here, and B is inheriting all the methods from our company A. So what B will do, B will override A, B will put A aside, and itself will move forward. For how it will move forward, it will override it. It will not use what is written inside the employee1 of company A. It will use its own method. It won't use its parent's method over here. Now, what if you want to use a parent method over here? If you want to use a parent method, so there is this method over here in OOP that is called as super function. We will be using a super function over here. So what super function over here does? So when do we use this super function is very simple. When we have similar methods, the name of the methods over here, the name of the functions are similar. At that time, we can use a super method so that it can call the function of parent A as well. So if I write super dot and the name of the function is employee1, and now if I run it, so let's use it. I'll be writing super dot employee1 and open close the bracket and open close the bracket right after the super as well. So super function dot employee1. Now what this super function dot employee1 will do, it will also allow us to use this print statement with our employee1 method which is there in our company A. So let's run and see. So now that we have the name of the first employee is John and the name of the first employee is Lisa. So for both the companies we have the first names over here. How? With the help of this super function. So guys, this method over here is called as the overriding method. Overriding method means when a child class inherits properties from A and both of them has the same methods over there, it overrides, while calling it with the object, it overrides it and does the function which is there inside our class B. At the same time, to overcome this, we have a super function. So super function only works when we have similar names in both the classes and B is inheriting from A. Topics related to the OOPs. We covered what are classes and objects. We covered inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulation, getter and setter methods. So all these things we have covered so far. Today we will be talking about the problem solving related to our OOP programming. So what I will be doing, I'll be showing you a question and then we will be solving that. So let's have a look on what question do we have over here. So here we have write a program in OOP to illustrate bank management system where a person can do the following task, that is deposit money, withdraw money and view account balance. So with the help of this program, a person should be able to deposit the money. That means all the information is already there. The person has gone there, has given the account details. Now what he has to do, he has three choices given over there, that he wants to deposit the money or he wants to withdraw the money or he wants to view his account balance over there. So let's get started. Let's see how to create a program in OOP with the same.
Before that, if you want to become a successful data analyst and if you want to learn from our experts live, then you can call on the given number or you can fill the form that is provided in our description. Not just that, with our every batch, you will be getting 2 demo classes for free.
So here I'm creating a class called as bank account. Now inside this bank account, what all things we will be having our constructor over here. Constructor will print us our welcome message of the bank. So we will be writing over here that definition, initialize. So for initialize we write INIT. And self, we pass self parameter over here. Inside this, what all things we need to add, we need to write a welcome message. Plus we need a variable over here that will keep a track of the balance. So we'll be creating one variable called as self dot balance. So balance will be the balance in your account, that would be equal to 0. Next thing we will be having print statement that welcome to the XYZ bank. So this is our bank. Now what all things we were asked for was, first is to deposit the money. So let's create a class called as deposit. So let's create an object called as deposit. So I'll be writing def deposit and I'll be passing the self function over here, that deposit money, that I want to deposit money. For depositing money, what we will be doing, we will be asking for a variable over here that I'll be calling it as deposit is equal to float. So amount can be in float as well. So float input, enter the amount you want to deposit. Right. Once this thing is done, what we need to do, we need to increase this amount in the self dot balance. So self dot balance plus is equal to deposit, that whatever money is already there in that, we will be adding this deposited amount. After this, what we need to do, we need to write a print statement that I'll be writing amount and what amount has been deposited, the deposit amount. Right. Let's write it in the next line. So I'll be putting a backslash and n over here, that amount deposited. Next thing is over here, our question said that first is deposit money, second is withdraw money. So def withdraw money. So, and we'll be passing the self parameter withdraw money. That means how much money a person wants to withdraw. Now there can be two things over here, that what if there is only 500 rupees in your account and you are trying to withdraw 800 or 1000 rupees. In that case, your account should show it has insufficient balance. So what we will be doing in this case, first of all, we'll be asking for the money they want to withdraw. So withdraw is equals to float input, enter the amount you wish to withdraw, right? After this, what we will be doing, we will be putting a conditional statement over here, that if this withdraw is greater, or let's first write for smaller. If it is smaller from self dot balance, in that case what would happen? In that case, the person would be able to withdraw the money. And what we will be doing, from this self dot balance, we will be subtracting minus is equals to what? Withdraw, and we will be printing money withdrawn is, here also let me write amount deposited is, and money withdrawn is, and we will be writing withdraw a variable. Let's also put it in the next line, so backslash NN, right? What if the withdraw is more than the balance in your bank account? Let's have a look on what we have to do that. In that case, we will not be doing anything. We will simply be writing over here backslash and N, and we'll be writing insufficient balance. That means you have insufficient balance in your account and you cannot withdraw the money. Enter correct amount. This is for our withdraw money, right? Moving ahead, next is about our view balance. So we'll be creating a function called as view balance and passing the self parameter inside it. Inside this, I'll be printing the amount in your account is, how much the balance. So self dot balance is the amount that is there in a person's account, right? So these are the three things that a person would be able to do. Once this is done, what we will be doing, we will be creating the object over here. So for the object, I'll be writing a is equals to the name of our class, that is the bank account. Now if I run this directly, only the constructor would work, as we have learned before, that if I run this only directly, so if I run this directly, nothing would happen, because what we have done, we have not printed the objects over here. So what we will be doing, we will be writing a dot. Let's talk about withdraw money or deposit money. So if I run this only, now once we are done with this, what I'll be doing, I'll be creating an object. A is equals to the name of our class, that is bank account, and open close the brackets over here. Let's run and see right now, because right now we'll be only getting the constructor, that is welcome to the XYZ bank, right? Now what we need all three of them, but in what condition we need all three of them? With our if conditions, that if a person want to deposit money, withdraw money, or view balance. So for that, we can create a loop over here, that while true, inside this I'll be asking for the user's choice, that choice is equals to int input, press 1 to deposit. I'll be putting a backslash n over here and writing press 1 to deposit, another backslash and n, press 2 to withdraw, another backslash and n, press 3 to view balance, and lastly press 4 to exit. Okay, so these things we have over here. Now all we need to do is we need to put the conditional statements over here, that if choice is equals to 1, in that case what a person would do. If choice is equals to 2, in that case what a person would do. So we have to put conditional statements basically over here. So if choice is equals to 1, that means if the person is asking to withdraw money, in that case we'll be calling the object a dot withdraw. So this is for withdrawing the money. And if choice is equals to 2 over here. Okay, first one is to deposit the money. So I made a mistake over here. We'll be writing deposit money. Second one would be withdraw. So here I'll be writing a dot withdraw money. Then again we have elif choice is equal to 3, that is to view the balance. So for that we'll be writing a dot view balance. And lastly we have exit button, so directly I'm putting else, break the loop. Now let's have a look and see what happens when we run it. Okay, I didn't put a backslash over here, so backslash and n. I'll run it once again. So we have press 1 to deposit, press 2 to withdraw, press 3 to view balance, press 4 to exit. Let's deposit the money first. So I'm depositing 4,000 over here. It says press 1 to deposit, withdraw, and view balance. So let's go with 2 and let's try to withdraw 5,000. Even though we have right now only 4,000 in our account balance, but still if I try to write 5,000, it would say insufficient balance, enter correct amount. So let's enter correct amount. Let's write 3,000. Now let's do one thing. Let's run the code and see what happens. So I'll be running the code. And here we have press 1 to deposit, 2 to withdraw, 3 to view balance, and 4 to exit. Let's press 1 and add some money to the account. So 4,000. Press 2 to withdraw. Let's try to withdraw amount which is insufficient. We know that in our account right now we only have 4,000 rupees. So let's try to withdraw 5,000. Let's run the program and let's see what happens, what outcome comes over here. It says welcome to the XYZ bank. Press 1 to deposit, press 2 to withdraw, press 3 to view balance, and press 4 to exit. First of all, talking about press 1 to deposit. Before depositing, let's first view the balance. So let's write 3 and the amount in your account is 0 rupees right now. Moving ahead, next is to deposit. Let's deposit some money. So I'll be writing 1 and let's deposit 4,000 inside it. Okay. After depositing 4,000, what I'll be doing, I'll be pressing 2 over here to withdraw some money. Let's try to withdraw 5,000. If I try to withdraw 5,000, it says insufficient balance, enter correct amount. So let's try to withdraw some money like this. I'll be writing the second one and here I'll be writing 3,000, which is now sufficient. So money withdrawn is 3,000. So previously we were having 4,000, now it's 3,000. Let's check if our balance says 1,000 or not. If I run this, so it says the amount in your account is 1,000, which is correct. Lastly, let's press 4 and exit it. So as I press 4 and exit it, this is how our break statement works and our loop stops over here. So I hope you guys have no doubts and no questions in this question. What we have basically done is we have created a bank account class. In this we have created a constructor which will call itself automatically. Next thing that we have done is to create a method to deposit the money, another method to withdraw the money, another method to view the balance. And we haven't called them all directly. What we have done using while loop and conditional statement, we have called them one by one by asking the user their choice, that if their choice is 1, they'll deposit the money. If their choice is 2, they'll withdraw. 3, then they will view the balance. They will be able to view the balance. And lastly, if their choice is 4, then they will be able to exit the whole program over here. So I hope you guys have no doubts and no questions. In our next session, we will be starting with a completely new topic. So stay connected guys and I'll see you in the next session. Thank you.